I'm Glenn McGuinness, and this is Outburst. On the program, does Canada need a carbon tax?
Absolutely, we need to do something.
No, it's just gouging workers that have to pay enough for gas just to go to work.
We need some sort of climate change action. I'm not sure what it is, and I'm not sure how effective this carbon tax has been.
The whole world needs a carbon tax.
But first, as Parliament resumed in late September, the hope was it would be the beginning of tying up loose ends or taking care of some unfinished business. We've seen lots of back and forth about pharmacare, taxes, and housing, but a lot of the issues that Canadians find important are still seemingly in the planning phase. We took to the streets to find out if the government and opposition parties alike are getting things done for Canadians. Our question:
what, if anything, do you feel Parliament has accomplished during this sitting?
So far, I think nothing. I believe so. It's not. I mean, the healthcare did not improve. Like the homeless is everywhere. And I don't think they accomplished anything. Rent prices are even getting higher. So food prices are getting higher and higher. So nothing so far.
Nothing. Not much. No, not much at all.
What makes you say that?
Well, I know Trudeau has benefited the Atlantic provinces with the carbon tax, cutting it, but he's only done it for oil. He hasn't done it for other people like who have propane or any other things, and he hasn't done it for the rest of Canada. So, it'd be nice to do it for everybody.
There's too much personal insults, and I'm just fed up with that. Let's talk about the issues, not attack each other. And I'm aiming that at one particular party, actually, who just continuously is on the attack, but has no solutions to the real problems.
I don't think they've accomplished very much. I mean, it seems like they're flailing their arms. This country's in really bad shape, and things need to change, but I don't want the change that is most likely to happen, i.e. Poilievre.
Well, I fully agree with the carbon tax. We need to do something for the environment, and I think that was a good move. I think on the world stage, we are still in the forefront, and I think they've managed to let us keep the reputation we have as Canadians of being compassionate, helpful people.
I think they've just been treading water. I don't think a lot of progress has been made on important issues. I think a lot of lip service has been paid, but not a lot of action has been taken. But I think that the pharmacare, the NDP pushing through the pharmacare and dental has been a good thing.
So I just think they've done a good job overall. They don't necessarily get the positive feedback that one would like to have, but I think it's very difficult for whoever's in office to please everyone and achieve their mandates that they set out when they're elected.
Reacting to the Ukraine war, reacting to what's going on in the Middle East. I'm not sure these are accomplishments that look good on anybody. Backpedaling on the carbon tax. So I can't say a huge amount.
I'm not sure a whole lot has been accomplished during this sitting, to be honest. I really can't put my finger on, aside from the recent announcement to give folks in Atlantic Canada a bit of a reprieve on the carbon tax, because most of Atlantic Canada still uses home heating oil. And that caused a whole set of controversy. So I have to say, I do watch the news carefully, and I'm at a bit of a loss to see what stands out for me right now.
I think they've done some good reactionary decision making. However, I would give them maybe a 7 out of 10 for not seeing things ahead that they maybe anticipated. And in my view, that would be the number one, would be housing.
It seems to me that they've done a lot of work on a number of things without really resolving any of them, but I could be wrong about that. I mean, they've talked a lot about pharmacare program, for example, and I don't think that's landed yet. I don't know whether they're going to land anything from the financial statement yesterday. They elected a new speaker whom they proceeded to shout down on his first or second day when he dared to ask them to behave like grown-ups. So that wasn't much of an accomplishment. But if I think a little harder, I could come up with something more positive.
It's been a lot of back and forth between the Conservatives and the Liberals, with the NDP sort of dangling the carrot in the middle. You know, not a lot. Although I gotta be honest, I'm not sure I'd be happy with the Conservatives as a government. Neither the NDP, so what's the worst option here?
That's a very good question, actually. I mean, I do follow the news, and I do think that not enough has been publicized about what's been passed or what's been accomplished. I think everything has been more negative, and that's what makes the news. So it frames my opinion of Parliament, and maybe not my opinion, but maybe the public at large's opinion, in a negative light, because they can't seem to get their accomplishments more public their more public accomplishments over the finish line versus all of the negativity and controversy that has happened in the last couple of months. So
anything to answer?
We're quite passionate about the climate, so we have seen some policies put in place that really help us get there, and some of them were quite hard. So it's great to see movement.
Unless you've been hiding under a rock, you're probably more than familiar with carbon pricing, otherwise known as a carbon tax. It's a tax levied on carbon emissions with the aim of transitioning businesses and consumers away from fossil fuels to cleaner forms of energy. But Canadians are divided on the tax. Some say it's what's needed. Others say we are taxed enough. So, what do you think? Our question.
Does Canada need a carbon tax?
I just don't think that's the way to go about, I'm not I'm not totally sold on this whole climate issue. We have a pollution problem, absolutely, 100% in this whole entire world, for sure. But as far as the, man-made climate, I have my reservations about that. The science as it's presented to us, yeah.
Should Canada do something about pollution? Absolutely. Should we do something to reduce greenhouse gases? Absolutely. We should do everything we can try. But we are also a very, very small cog in a massive global machine. And in terms of a cost of living crisis, which we're living through right now as well, it feels like we're taking it on the chin pretty hard there.
No, it's just gouging workers that have to pay enough for gas just to go to work. Especially people in construction that go to more job sites, one location every day at times. Yeah. There's no reason, it's just taking more money out of tax-paying people as it is.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
If they could refund people with, grocery money, that would work. Why don't you cut the bus fare in half, the transportation costs in half? That would help. There's carbon tax. That's such a one-time issue. Yes, we do. We have to. Yeah, polluters pay. That's what it has to be.
Really can't say one way or another on the carbon tax. I think that climate change is a major issue for us, and I don't want to be living in underground bunkers when I'm 80 years old. So whatever we need to do to get our climate shift under control, I'm supportive of.
Well, it needs something. I must say that climate change does happen. Let's face it, petroleum products cause a lot of it, in my opinion, and I think science has shown that. So yes, we do. I don't even know exactly how the carbon tax works as far as they take in money and they give it back to you. I'm not sure how that reduces use. Something has to be done though. And carbon tax seems to be the way people want to go. I don't have another solution. Apparently smart people don't have another solution, so a carbon tax it is.
I'm not really up to date on the carbon tax. I know a lot of provinces are going away from it. British Columbia seems to be keeping it. But again, I don't really know if it's necessary at this point if we're not meeting our own emissions, right now. I mean, we're not lowering what we said we were going to do previously. So perhaps they just need to take another look at that.
The whole world needs a carbon tax.
Why?
It's about the only way we're going to see movement that is going to go fast enough relative to the change we need to make.
Yes.
Why?
We should pay for what we put into the atmosphere.
Do you think this is an effective method to combat climate change?
One thing is not going to make a difference. Everybody's got to do a little bit. There's all sorts of other technologies and levies and substitutions that could take place. So carbon tax is one tool.
Yes.
Why?
Because it's the most efficient mechanism for lowering emissions without really impacting the economy.
I'm not sure if it's a carbon tax that we need exactly. Given that we do modify other taxes per province, I think it should be some kind of adjustable tax that benefits the environment individually for the size of our country.
It's not a good thing for people to have to deal with, especially in the economy where inflation is growing and people today are struggling to make ends meet even when they're living in a comfortable situation, right? And only implementing things like the carbon tax, it furthers their necessity for these things, and it's not necessarily a good thing to do. And I personally don't think it should be instated, just because it's more of a detriment.
Mother Earth is dying because of our greed. There's only so much oil. There's only so much natural gas. There's only so much. I don't know why they don't come in with something about, people actually sharing their cars, to do stuff, or more buses. Fredericton needs more buses. I know people like me, when I'm stuck, I usually walk back and forth. But like on Sundays and that, I have to walk. There's no buses. We need more buses, more accessible buses, and maybe then people will wake up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We need to do something. And, if there was other and different viable options that other parties and other people were coming up with. But right now, we've got to try to figure out how to reduce our consumption, and the carbon tax is a good way to do that.
Which of the following is not a role of the Governor General? Choosing cabinet ministers, dissolving Parliament, giving royal assent. Choosing cabinet ministers, dissolving Parliament, or giving royal assent.
I want to say giving royal assent.
Choosing cabinet ministers.
Choosing cabinet ministers.
Choosing cabinet ministers.
Choosing cabinet ministers.
Giving royal assent.
Giving royal assent, I think, but I'm not sure.
I'd say choosing cabinet ministers.
Choosing cabinet ministers.
Choosing cabinet ministers, dissolving Parliament, giving royal assent.
Choosing cabinet ministers. Choosing cabinet ministers.
You're all correct.
Yeah.
You got it right.
Federal cabinet ministers are chosen by the Prime Minister, and they are then appointed to the cabinet by the Governor General. The Governor General's duty primarily is to exercise most of the Crown's powers on behalf of the sovereign in Canada. This includes summoning, proroguing, or dissolving Parliament, setting out the government's agenda by reading the speech from the throne, or giving royal assent, which transforms bills into law.
Canada's defence spending has been taking a hit lately. Recently, the federal government announced it would be cutting $1 billion from the defence budget. Canada contributes roughly 1.3% of its GDP to the armed forces, which is still well below the NATO target of 2%. National Defence Minister Bill Blair says more money needs to go into key areas to boost readiness and capacity. So do you feel more, not less, should go to our military? Our question.
Should the federal government boost defense spending?
Probably yes. because our allies expect us to, and there are a lot of dangers in the world right now. So I think a gradual increase to something around, I think, the 2% that the international community wants would probably be in our best interest.
No.
Why, sir?
I realize we are cutting back and cutting back and cutting back, and I keep thinking, what if somebody walks in here and takes over? But at the same time, I don't think generally worldwide we should be cutting back, putting money in defense.
I think they should. We're entering a new era, unfortunately, not only to do with the two wars that are going on right now, but times are changing, resources are getting more and more limited, and Canada is an important place in terms of having those resources, and I think we should be protecting those resources.
I don't think they should cut it. The way things are going in the world, we need to have some kind of assurance that we can still put boots on the ground. But if there's general cuts going to come, everybody's going to do their share, even defense.
I don't know. It's pretty hard when you're a country of however many million that we are to have enough defense spending that will make much of a difference. I mean, I think certainly if I was going to recommend anything, cybersecurity, because that's probably how they will take down countries like us, not by invading us. So,
Yes.
Any
Yes.
reason why?
Too many people are dying in wars that should not be going on in the first place. But at least, by the God, if Canada's in there like they did in the Second World War, at least they can try to get the peace back or the sanity back. I've talked to too many refugees, love. Too many people who have to run from their homes, and thank God we have Canada.
I think that's, and personally, I would say no. I think that there should be a better management of political relationships, and if we are spending on being or on threatening other countries and just becoming more powerful in that sense, I don't feel like it would be a good use to have that in a discussion where we're trying to reach a common ground or a common point. So I think that we should just be better at creating those relationships based on mutual efforts and not necessarily trying to be overpowering somebody else.
Yeah, I think we should, because I'm a veteran myself, and sometimes I had to laugh at our equipment, and we should equip ourselves more manpower and better equipment. Yeah.
Yes, we have not maintained our NATO commitment of 2% of GDP, I think it is, off the top of my head. I don't think there's an issue with that. I think we're moving away from globalism and moving back to nationalism, which is not great when it comes to international relations. We've gone from a planet of developed countries trying to work together to many of those countries now trying to be a little bit more insular and take care of themselves first. So I think if that's the case and that's where everyone else is going, we need to make sure that we're not left unprotected.
We're undermanned in the military, for one thing, and we're unable pretty much to, I would believe, to defend our own country. Should a major conflict happen, I don't think we're capable of defending our own country. And perhaps if there was, let's hope not, but a third world war, I believe the United States would be looking after their own people and not Canadians. And I think we rely too much on them.
No, I never support war. Every bullet you sell or you use or you buy, you're losing one life. Why we want to pass that kind of mentality to my next generations and their peers? Why thinking military is the solution? Why one bullet is more important than maybe one food bank, one more, a subsidy to the homeless? One bullet is one life. Why am I asking my children to learn from this horrible culture of believing war is the solution? I don't know. Should cut down military.
Well, we do have commitments to our NATO partners and other partners throughout the world. Attempting to achieve that is about as far as Canada really ought to go. I mean, It's not like our neighbors are threatening us, so we don't have the problems an awful lot of other countries in this world do.
No. We are allies with most nations that have large defense budgets. We are at peace with most countries. Most conflicts we're facing are not major scales. We need to reduce defense spending, and we need to focus in on humanitarian efforts where possible to help people that are disenfranchised by conflict and war. And my heart goes out to those people who are suffering today across the world.
As the holiday season is fast approaching, millions of Canadians will soon be in spending mode. But for many of us, that disposable income that we've become so accustomed to is fast eroding because of an elevated cost of living. We sent our cameras out to ask Canadians if they'll be scaling back the spending this year. Our question:
will the state of the economy impact how much you spend over the holidays?
You don't have money just to throw away anymore. You know, everything is so expensive that you have to cut where you can, and Christmas is a good time to cut because it's gotten out of control.
100%. 100%. And you can see it, the mall can see it. People are just not spending like they have in years prior. And you can tell it's because they're fearful of just the state of things right now. Inflation, interest rates. There's not as much money to go around as there was even a year or two ago, for sure.
Definitely. Why? Why? If you can't spend what you don't have, you got to use your priorities. You know, you can't, unless you're going to take it from Peter and pay Paul. You know, it's just not there. You only got so much money to work with. Everybody's in the same boat when it comes to that.
Yeah. I mean, like, you can't spend money you don't have, right? So, I mean, if the cost of everything else is going up, like heating, groceries, anything to like, there's just less money left for fancy Christmas presents, or too many Christmas presents, maybe.
I don't spend a whole lot over the holidays or any other time. You know, I'd like to live frugally. So, no, not really.
Absolutely. Why? Because everybody's broke. Groceries gone up, rent has gone up. So it's going to be a lot less for Christmas.
Yes. Well, I'm because I don't have as much money as I used to have. Everything's costing more, food's costing more, fuel, everything. So you have to cut back somewhere.
Everything's tight these days. Things are, bucks are tight for everybody. And it's going to make a difference. And as a matter of fact, probably people, if they're going to spend a few dollars, instead of spend a few dollars, maybe should, make some donations to Salvation Army or the food bank.
Absolutely. I expect myself, like many people, will spend a little bit less than they did previously, simply because wages don't go up quite as fast as goods and services, and folks are trying to stay within their budget and their margins.
Definitely, for sure. Everyone, whoever's gone through a mortgage renewal will see their wallet hit pretty hard. So yeah, I would think that's a definitely yes.
And you?
Absolutely. But the prudent thing is to go into the holidays with a budget. So if you go in with a budget and you stick with it, then it shouldn't impact you too much.
No.
Why?
Because I generally don't spend unless I have to. Grandchildren, my wife, but I'm not one to do a lot of big time spending. We never have.
I'm trying to rethink that and see what I can do in terms of handmade gifts, because I make jewelry and other forms of art, things like that, food as well.
No. I don't spend much, so I'll just continue not to spend much.
Presents would cost so much. Like, I just make my own things. Like, I get some yarn, I crochet little gifts for my friends, and it's a lot cheaper and people appreciate it more. So yeah, and I think definitely with things becoming so expensive, there's nothing really else that I can do.
Sure. Cutting back big time. It's too much. Food's gone way up, so
and we don't need to buy a lot anymore. You have everything you need.
Oh yes, a lot. Like probably more than 35 to 40%. Yeah, more than we used to spend on this.
Well, I try to spend as little as I can over the holidays anytime, because I think we're too much of a consumer society. And I actually try and give people things that I already have, like a book I've read or something I have, or something from my grandmother that I don't need.
No. Well, I think I am fortunate enough to be able to spend pretty well what I want to on my family for Christmas. And I think it's very important, and I try very hard to support local businesses, do very little online. I like to go into a shop and know the people and purchase things there. But I find as my grandchildren are getting older, it's also getting more expensive. So I will just roll with the punches.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's not like in previous years when I could really, spend money on things that weren't absolute necessities. It's not like I can eat as many meals as I could before COVID or anything like that. So it's definitely going to have a big impact on that, on how much I can spend on gifts and how many gifts I can get and that sort of thing. So it's going to be small things and homemade as much as possible. Yeah.
Thanks for watching this episode of Outburst on CPAC. If you have any comments about this show or any other show, you can find us on social media. You can also find us on our website at www.cpac.ca. I'm Glenn McGuinness, and on behalf of my colleagues at the Cable Public Affairs Channel, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.